Hello, everybody, and thank you ever so much for joining me. I'm here today to talk to you about what we've done to improve the crime service through technology. My name's Jane Gardner, and I'm the Crime Reform Service Owner at HMCTS. Start by explaining why we're reforming the crime service. As you may know, if you're a user of the service, the criminal justice system is designed around experts rather than the citizens it serves. We currently rely, or we have been relying on paper-based systems and poor IT infrastructure, which causes a lot of problems for us. There are resource and time allocation issues, meaning that simple things take a long time to happen. And finally, we have quite complex processes that are hard to administer and harder to navigate for our users. And for those reasons, the decision was made some time ago to initiate a crime reform programme. And the vision for that is to create a more robust and flexible and system and transform the way we work, delivering efficiency and effectiveness. We want to do that through a number of ways. That involves improving and automating our business processes, sharing data and information in a better and more accessible way, enabling new ways of working, and managing our business processes, particularly by moving to more structured data and away from documents and images if we can. We also are aiming to eliminate any rekeying and duplication of effort, which there is a lot of across HMCTS at the moment due to the number of systems that we are currently using. And driving a joined up, standardized and simplified way of working to improve efficiency and quality. We have a number of design principles on the crime programme. They are our Bible in terms of the way that we work and what we deliver, and we assess all the changes that we make by them. And there are some there that are key to everything that we do. For example, preserving judicial independence, improving engagement of public users in the criminal justice system. But there are some which are very specific to technology. So they're the ones that are fundamental to what I'm talking about today. So, for example, actions being taken in advance of hearings, so creating the technology to enable that, enabling effectiveness through timely sharing of high quality information. So again, where we've got better digital systems, we enable that design principle. Having a single shared view of case information is really important to us. So a single view of a single view of what's happening so that everybody knows that they can trust the information that they've got in front of them. Reducing reliance on the physical courtroom. So I'll talk briefly about that and the work that we're doing with video hearings. Being digital by design and using automation where we can. So that links back to what I mentioned earlier around automating our processes to ensure that the process is as efficient as it can be, and delivering a single source of management information so that we all know that the information that we're looking at about our cases and the way the system is working, we're all looking at the same information and we can all tell the same story from it. Whereas currently different organisations and different parts of different organisations sometimes produce reporting that doesn't always align because of the different systems that we're using and also the different counting rules that we apply. So to start with, who are our users? We've got a really wide variety of users for crime, and they are therefore our key people to talk to in relation to crime reform. And they're all equally important and have very different needs. And with just a selection here of some of those users, which I won't name because you can see them, but we're doing a lot of work with all of our users to really understand what is needed from the service. So we have a judicial working group that we meet with very frequently. At the moment, we meet them every few weeks. We have short discussions about the designs for the common platform to make sure that they meet the needs of our judicial users. We also have some more high-level judicial engagement groups. So they look across everything that we're doing. We have one for the magistrates and one for the judges, recognising the difference in the needs between those two different jurisdictions. We have operational staff seconded to the programme in various different roles, which I'll talk about in a bit. And they bring with them a wealth of experience from the courts and understanding what it is that we need to deliver to make our systems usable for our court users, not just our staff, but also these are people who work with other users on a regular basis. Some of those are permanently or other full-time seconded to the programme. Others actually continue in their work in the courts to keep their knowledge fresh, to make sure that everything they bring to the programme is up to date. And they're really useful. They provide really useful insight. They often go back to the courts when they do their work in courts and talk to their colleagues about what it is that we're designing and how it's working, which is really helpful because then we get that informal feedback as well. Everyone on the programme attends court frequently. So I've been in the last few weeks to Isleworth Crown Court and Wimbledon Magistrates Court. We're all doing court visits to watch and see what it's like in real life, so that we're not just sitting behind our desks reading papers about what people need. We can actually see it and we can talk to people. I had a really great conversation with a list caller last week where he was talking about some of the challenges that he faces, and it just brings it all to life and means that that we really start to understand what it is people need. We have a defence practitioner working group where a number of colleagues from a variety of different organisations, including practicing lawyers, come and talk to us about the designs that we are making. Sometimes, so the last one that we did, we showed them a couple of different examples of the advocate view for the common platform and asked them what they thought would be most useful. That's a group that we welcome people to join. So if that's something that you'd be interested in joining, we'd really encourage you to do that and get in touch with us, because the more input we can get from people who will really use the system, particularly from the defence, will be really useful. We collaborate frequently with the CPS. We have meetings with them on a sometimes daily basis, talking about the designs, because of course this really is a key partner of ours. So understanding how our systems will work together and what they need from the common platform is really important to us. We also have regular engagement with a variety of other stakeholders, including the prison service, the legal aid authority, the probation, making sure that all the users of the system and of the service feed into and tell us what it is that they need, so that we can design it to be the best product it can be. We also then set up working groups on specific functionality. So for example, if we're designing a tool to deal with scheduling and listing, there's a scheduling and listing working group who tell us exactly what's needed from that functionality to make sure that we get that right. After we've completed our designs, we then get those validated by users again. So it's not a case of design it, build it, roll it out. We make sure that we've correctly interpreted what people have told us, so that we make sure that it's right before we start building it. And then of course we have the design phase where our developers, the development phase where our developers actually convert what we've designed into functionality. And when we roll that out, we get lots of feedback from people who are using the system. And one of the things that we do is we don't just roll it out to all courts. We have some model courts and early adopters who we ask to try out the new functionality and make sure that it works, and feedback any changes that need to be made. And then when something has been rolled out into the courts, we continue to offer live support, and that includes capturing feedback about ways that we could make the system better, any defects that we miss, that sort of thing. And these public engagement events are really important to us because we want to make sure that we get everybody's needs captured and understood. So if you do have anything that you want to feed into us, there'll be an opportunity at the end to ask questions, but also to tell us what you think needs to be done with the system. And please do use that opportunity or get in touch with us through the email address we give you at the end. So I talked a bit about some of the people on the team. I thought it would be useful to talk about the team. So this is a diagram showing at quite a high level what the crime programme looks like. We start off on the left-hand side with the strategic design and engagement team, and you'll see that that's got the service owner in it, that's me. And in that team, we also have some service managers and business product owners. And those are the people that I mentioned earlier who are seconded from the business, who understand the business really well. And you can see that they don't just sit in the engagement and design section, but they actually cut across everything that we do. And I'll talk through some of those other processes. We also have project professionals across the programme, making sure that the plan is articulated and understood, that our risks are catalogued and mitigated. They deal with reporting. We have a PMO who helps us with all of our project management activity. PMO stands for Project Management Office, sorry. We have then a technical design and architecture team, and this follows the process as well as the team, the process for designing, development and implementing change. So the stage after we've done the strategic design is the technical design and architecture. So that's making sure that we've really understood how to translate the strategic design into something that the digital delivery team can pick up and turn into functionality. So then that passes over to the delivery team, and they work really closely with the design teams to understand exactly what's been designed. We have really detailed refinement sessions to go through all of the technicalities of exactly what it is that needs to be done. And then that's turned into functionality, tangible functionality that people will eventually use. And the developers do that, and then we have tech leads and testers who pick up that functionality and make sure that it's going to be fit for purpose. The BPOs then do testing on that before it gets implemented to make sure that what has been built matches what they designed. And then once they're happy, it passes over to the implementation team who design training materials and guidance and make sure that the functionality is well explained to the users. And then they'll think about how they roll that piece of functionality out. So it might be something quite straightforward. It might be an enhancement to something that people already use, and therefore it might not need a great deal of guidance or training or staggering, but it might be quite a big new piece of functionality that we think actually let's do a whole training package around this. Let's roll it out to our model court first and test it there and make sure that the way we implement it works and the functionality works the way we think it does, and then we roll it out more widely. So that's the team, but also it represents the process that we follow. So this is our target operating model. There are 3 slides on this, and this is our path to 2023. So by the end of 2020, we had rolled out the common platform to our first early adopter site and 2 new court and tribunal service centres, testing moving admin activity out of the courts and into a central service centre. We incorporated new technology and ways of working into a national service, and in addition to TfL and TVL, so that's TV licensing, who were already using the common platform at that point, we rolled that out further. DVLA began using the single justice procedure following those other organisations, and police forces in England and Wales started to use the single justice procedure process for COVID regulation breaches. So that's where we were at the end of 2020. And by early 2022, we hope that all courts in England and Wales will be live on the common platform. DVLA and some police forces will be prosecuting single justice procedure offences using the common platform. And hopefully some non-police prosecutors will start to use it too. That's something that we're putting a lot of work into at the moment in terms of understanding how we're going to onboard those people. I'm happy to take questions about that at the end if you're a non-police prosecutor and interested in how you can get more engaged with the common platform. Staff will be moving into CTSCs. We've already started that activity and moving work from the courts to those CTSCs and giving them the technology that they need to enable them to do that work. And feasibility on defendant engagement with Norfolk and Suffolk police forces will also be completed. So that's less around technology and more around process. And I know that Jonathan Allen's got a presentation on that, so I'm not going to steal his thunder, but a really interesting piece of work there. And then by the end of the programme in March 2023, we will have reformed everything that was in scope for crime services. we will have ensured that the Judicial Review and Courts Bill are enacted and implemented within the Common Platform, and we've got contingency plans in place just in case those bills don't go through in time for the programme, but we hope that they will, and we're designing now the functionality to enable that. Areas previously in transition will be reformed and all projects will be concluded by that date. That's a really hard date for us, and we're really stuck to it. And any additional functionality will have been introduced, including interfacing with the CPS's case management system, replacing the digital case system in the Crown Courts, and introducing enhanced case progression functionality and integrating with new scheduling and listing and publication solutions. And that case progression functionality is around digitising a lot of the activity that happens in courts. So, for example, PCPH hearings, if you're familiar with those, will be documented in the system rather than in forms. So there are three major enablers for reform. They're not the only enablers, but they're the major ones, and there are technology enablers. So I'll talk tomorrow about what we're doing in relation to our processes and improving those. So the first one is the Single Justice Service. The SJS, as we call it, was designed for low-level cases which result in financial penalties. And the idea was to take those out of the courtroom where possible and to make the time in the courtroom about those more serious cases. So a high volume of cases will be dealt with outside scheduled court times in the courts and tribunal service centres. That means that hearings will be quicker, reduce the use of paper and forms, and reduce duplication and delay. Court staff will no longer need to print thousands of sheets of paper each week, and defendants will be able to make a plea online if they choose to, which should increase the speed at which cases are heard and resolved. And so far, we've had around 850,000 of these cases dealt with outside the courtroom. Over 95% of those were made without the need for a hearing, which saved prosecutor time, magistrates time, usher and courtroom resources. We've received over 23,000 online pleas and more than 535,000 make a plea interactions, and 1,742 at the time that this was written police cases had been managed on the Common Platform. So that's where we are with the Single Justice Service. The Common Platform is probably, if you know very little about the crime programme, you've probably heard of the Common Platform. It's our new digital case management system, which brings together all the information about a case from beginning to end. As you may know, we have a number of legacy systems in the criminal courts, Libra and Exhibit and DCS and CourtStore being the main ones. And the idea is to bring those together into one place to provide one single location for all that information. Which not only makes that information more accessible and more trustworthy, but also improves the process for everybody and reduces duplication. So where we had, for example, cases being entered onto Libra for the Magistrates Court and then re-entered onto Exhibit if those cases went to the Crown Court, those cases will now just flow through the Common Platform, which saves time and makes it more efficient. So far, 101 courts are using the Common Platform. This equates to about 40% of our courts, 44% of our courts rather. Of those, we've got 47,290 cases at the time of writing accepted onto the Common Platform. 55,480 magistrates courts hearings have been managed on the Common Platform, and 7,353 Crown Court hearings managed on the Common Platform. So making really good progress. We took a pause earlier, a couple of months ago in August, to take stock of where we were with rolling out of the Common Platform, and we hope to restart soon so that, as I said earlier, all of our courts will be live by March. So video hearings is also a really important enabler and one that it would be remiss not to talk about. Video hearings was always within scope of the crime reform programme and of HMCTS generally. There's a cross-jurisdictional project looking at video hearing technology, and then each jurisdiction is responsible for how to integrate that into the service. But of course, COVID happened and video hearings became not just something that we hoped to achieve to create efficiencies, but something that we had to do. So we rolled out the cloud video platform to support video hearings and remote hearings across England and Wales to keep justice going during COVID, which accelerated our work to design and deliver the video hearing service, which is our long-term strategic solution. It didn't just do that though. The cloud video platform really helped us to pin down exactly what our requirements were for the video hearing service. So it was a really useful exercise for us to understand exactly what was needed and how we not only build the solution, but also how we implement it. So that was a real opportunity for us to learn from that. And we are planning to transition from the cloud video platform to our new end state video hearing solution early next year. And the final decision about using video technology in any criminal hearing is always taken by the judge or the magistrate, and only when they believe it to be in the interest of justice. So video hearings doesn't remove our obligations in relation to open justice. It's just another way that we can fulfill our obligations and responsibilities that's more efficient in some cases. So CVP has been rolled out to all magistrates' courts in all seven, and Crown Courts rather, in all 7 regions. All magistrates' courts and Crown Courts that are open have the capability to conduct video hearings. And so far, there have been over 350,000 court hearings using the cloud video platform. So what difference will it make? That's the most important thing, really, isn't it? All parties, including the judiciary, solicitors, barristers, the CPS, court staff will be able to securely access the most up-to-date case information available and have the confidence that there is only one place to access that information. So this must be the most up-to-date version. I don't need to email people to find out if there's a more up-to-date version. Digital ways of working make it easier to submit materials to the courts and enable lawyers to present their cases remotely where appropriate. Once a case is resulted, the results are shared immediately with all our partners, including the police and the legal aid agency, without the need for clerical intervention. That's one of the biggest changes for our staff. Notices, orders and warrants are generated and sent automatically once the result's been entered. And information and materials about cases will stay with the case, as I explained, rather than needing to rekey. Paper forms will be replaced with digital data capture, meaning again, all the information is in one place. Some business process will be automated where appropriate, and we're doing a lot of work now into understanding exactly what it is that we need to automate to reduce the administrative effort and avoiding errors and delays. And that's things like entering onto the common platform that an interpreter is needed, automating the step to request an interpreter rather than having to send an email. That sort of thing is what we're thinking about in terms of automation. So nothing dramatic, just more efficient. And the whole point of this is to reduce the cost of the courts to the taxpayer. So getting this far has certainly not been without its challenges, but we're learning from it. It's a massive transformation in terms of the technology that we're using, and inevitably that brings with it challenges. But we've introduced some initiatives to help to mitigate the risks and to fix the problems that are identified as quickly as we can. So we've got a single issues log where we capture all the issues that people raise with us, and then we work through that frequently with all the teams that I talked to you about earlier. So the BPOs will go through and understand what caused this problem. Is it as designed? Did we make a mistake? Was it not built the way we thought it was? What should have been? And making sure that we really understand what the issues are that people are raising, so that we know how to fix them quickly. We're establishing some really great data to measure how the changes are being embedded in the courts, so that we can forecast demand better. We're consolidating all our existing standard operating procedures into one single end process, which will help to provide clarity of tasks and roles to our staff. And we are, to that end, embedding the change by clarifying the activities to be performed by each role. to make it easy for people to understand what's for them to do, what's for other people to do. I mentioned before the model courts and the model offices. So we're testing any key functionality out in those places to make sure that we kind of rinse out any issues before it goes national. And providing a lot of support to those model courts and model offices to make sure that if they are finding any issues, we're helping them with those as quickly as possible. We're reducing the number of sources the business need to find answers by bringing all our guidance materials together into some really useful interactive internet pages. And we've redesigned our learning materials to be more accessible. So we've had some feedback about the training that we did and the learning materials that we provided, and we've redesigned those as a result of that really useful feedback. We can continue to reprioritize what we're delivering in our future delivery. I mentioned that we haven't rolled everything out yet, we haven't built everything yet, we're still designing some functionality, and we keep our plan quite fluid to make sure that that where it becomes clear that we would be maximizing our benefits if we brought something to the front, we reschedule and reprioritize in an agile way. We provide live support on the programme to all the courts who have been rolled out to so far, and have a plan in place for those courts that will be receiving the common platform. And that live support is in several tiers. So from super users in courts to crime programme people responding to Teams chats in a live way, and then we have our developers involved in that as well. And then we've got some kind of subject matter experts dealing with the more complex issues to make sure that they're fully understood and pushed through into our development teams. And we, as I mentioned earlier, periodically go to courts. Everybody goes to courts to see how the common platform is working in reality, to make sure that that we see for ourselves what the issues are and how we can resolve them. And are actually getting some really good feedback from people that although there are slowness issues and there are technical errors sometimes, when the system works, people are telling us that it's actually intuitive and it's a good system. So what's next? We will continue to evaluate. We've got a whole team dedicated to evaluation and receive feedback from all our live sites, learning lessons and planning for the next rollout to the next courts of the first phase, and then the rollout of the second phase next year. Common platform will be available in all courts by 2022, and the single justice procedure will be rolled out by the end of March to all police. And then the additional functionality in the common platform will be introduced between now and the end of 2022, including the case progression functionality that I mentioned, and the new scheduling and listing and publication solutions. The CPS case management system will be integrated into the common platform, so there'll be lots of interfaces between those two to ensure the seamless flow of information. And non-police prosecutors will be onboarded to the common platform. And once we're happy that we've done everything we can to replace them, our legacy systems in the courts will be replaced and switched off. So I wanted to ask you some questions, and I'm sure you've got some for me. I'm really interested to know, how could we improve our engagement with you better to ensure the crime service meets everyone's needs? What additional technological improvements do you expect or want to see? And do you have any ideas for improving our technology further? And what I'll do is I'll leave those questions on the screen while I receive questions from you, so you can have a think about that. Feel free to ask any questions, answer our questions, and give us any feedback. Over to you.
Good afternoon, my name is Sophia and I'm a research officer in the Insight team. Thank you for that presentation, Jane. We're now going to have a time for questions, so as Jane said, please do post them in the Q&A chat function. To begin with, our first question is, with the rapid increase in remote hearings, partly as a result of the pandemic, how can you assure the public they will still receive a fair hearing?
That's a really good question, and one that the judiciary in particular are really concerned with. We're doing a lot of research into that question. Our research team are looking into the impact of remote hearings on defendants in particular, to make sure that hearings are fair and there aren't any unintended consequences from them. So there's a whole big working group looking into video hearings, and that's one of the things they've insisted on, is some really comprehensive research to understand the answer to that question. So although I can't answer it now, I can assure you that it is being addressed, and if you want any more information on it, then do get in touch, and we'll share that with you when we can.
Great. You mentioned that you're engaging with defence professionals in relation to the design. Could you tell us a bit more about that engagement and how I can get involved?
Yeah, absolutely. Please do get involved. So we've got, you might know that we do defence webinars where we talk about what has already been rolled out and answer questions about the platform as it is, and that's led by our implementation team. But from my side, in terms of the strategic design and engagement, we have a practitioners working group where we invite, as I've mentioned briefly earlier, people from a number of different organisations to come and be consulted on what we're designing to feed the requirements in. So as I said earlier, we had one where we showed a number of members of that group different functionality and asked them for their views. We want to open that group out more and to get more people involved. At the moment, we've got the same small number of people coming, and we'd really love to get more user input from defence practitioners, because it's really important to us that the system works for them. And the small number of people who currently come to that working group, I think, probably doesn't provide enough representation of the occupation as a whole. So please get in touch with us. There's an email address which we'll share with you at the end, and if you are interested in joining, please do. It's open to anybody who is a defence practitioner and wants to help to shape the common platform.
Brilliant. Are there any plans to link time spent in Magistrates Court with the time spent in Crown Court to give a clear representation of overall time spent in the court system, particularly regarding either way cases and the groups most likely impacted by this?
I don't know the answer to that question. I'd pass that over, I think, to our live services team, but I think it's a really good question, and one that we will get an answer to you. I believe we're sharing questions and answers on the website.
Yes, that's right. And we've got a question now about researchers accessing tools such as like the Common Platform. If researchers need to access CPS for related information, such as information regarding a case or specifically about a court hearing, will researchers be able to communicate with the Crown Prosecution Service?
I don't know about the Crown Prosecution Service. They will be able to request information from the courts as they do now. And we are looking into what additional access needs to be provided to particular individuals on a kind of read-only basis. But there won't be a way to access the common platform and then directly communicate with the CPS. That's not the intention of the common platform. It's more of an information sharing tool rather than a communication tool. So if it's the CPS that you need to get in touch with, you'll still need to get in touch with them in the way you do now.
Great, thank you. Will all non-Crown Prosecution Service prosecutors, so all non-CPS prosecutors, be onboarded onto the Common Platform before single justice procedure has commenced for all, or will SJP go first?
So that's something that we're looking into now, as I mentioned earlier. So we know that for this to be an actual common platform across the whole criminal justice system, it's really important that we're not just talking about the CPS and the police prosecuting, but actually there are a number of organisations who prosecute, and we need to make sure that they are able to access the system in the same way. There's a number of ways that that they can do that. So already some non-police prosecutors are looking into an API, so a channel between their case management system and the common platform. And we're really open to conversations with anybody who wants to build an API. It's definitely the best way to link up with the common platform. But that won't be cost effective for every prosecutor. If there's, I spoke to a prosecutor last week who prosecutes about 20 cases a year. So it's a big part of his job, but wouldn't want his organisation to invest the amount of money that would be needed to build an API to connect to the common platform. So we're just thinking about how we engage those sorts of prosecutors onto the common platform. But if you're from a prosecutor who is one of the larger prosecutors, thinking about getting an API, then in terms of timescales, our rollout team is currently putting together new plans for that. And it's obviously we won't be able to fully roll out the single justice procedure until we've got all the prosecutors on board. But if you wanted, whoever asked that question, if you wanted to have a conversation with me about that specifically for your organisation, then please do get in touch. I'm trying to reach out to as many non-police prosecutors as want to talk to me, and there are quite a few.
Great. And we've got a question on the video conferencing hearings or the live link hearings. So shouldn't video conferencing hearings be paused until we understand its impact?
So at the moment, it's being used carefully. Judges are making the decisions, as I mentioned earlier, the decision to hold video hearings, whether that's all video hearings or where particular members of particular parties are in video and everybody else is in the courtroom. They are effective and they do mean more efficiency. And I think there's confidence that that the way we're currently doing it is working. So I don't think there's any suggestion that we should pause video hearings until we know more. But I think before we roll out the strategic solution, we need to be sure that it's the right answer for all our users.
Thank you, Jane. That's all of the questions from the Q&A session.
Okay.
Thank you for your presentation and that really interesting session. Thank you to all those who have joined and asked questions. Don't forget that we have a Q&A panel closing the event, which is showing tomorrow, in the afternoon. If you want to submit a question in advance, please email changesomethingthatmatters@justice.gov.uk and the email is on the screen now. Thank you.
Thanks very much.